to call to order the public work session, first public work session in 2026. Want to welcome everybody back from a long, well-spent holiday vacation. Hope everybody had received all of the toys and gifts that they chose and celebrated and brought in the new year with a lot of optimism, because I can tell you we are optimistic about our future here in the city of Portsmouth.
Yes, sir.
With that being said, want to take a moment to acknowledge all of those who are watching us online and those who are in the room. In addition, we want to welcome our city staff, and those individuals are here to assist us during these presentations. Want to acknowledge our city manager and Mr. Stephen Carter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Acknowledge our interim city attorney, Mr. Derek Challenger, and of course, our city clerk, Deborah White. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carter, sir, you have the floor.
Hey, well, welcome to 2026.
Oh, yeah.
I guess there's some formalities first.
Mayor getting ahead of himself in 2020.
I know you're excited and
Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? I missed the eye contact.
It's okay. It's okay. Ms. Bryant. Present. Dr. Dotson. Mr. Hugel. Present. Mr. Moody.
Here.
Ms. Thomas. Here. Mr. Tillett.
Here.
Mayor Glover.
Here.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Carter, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Again, welcome to 2026. This is our first meeting of the year. Got a few things on the agenda for this afternoon. First of all, have the waterfront development agreement, Mr. Brian Donahue. Oh, there he is. He's here. So he's going to be first up, followed by Dr. Russell. She's going to present two things this evening. One is comprehensive plan update and an Ansel apartment voucher, a formality that we need to go through to authorize this apartment complex to do some business with the Norfolk Housing Authority. And finally, our own city clerk is going to do a presentation or have a discussion about how do we consummate the consent agenda process into our agenda, our regular council meetings. All right, Mr. Donahue's up first. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, it's a pleasure to be in front of you again this evening to provide some updates on the progress as it relates to the redevelopment of the city's waterfront. We are making some great strides here in working to put this property on the city's tax rolls in as timely a fashion as I think is possible. So I'm here before you this evening to talk about the cooperation agreement for the Crawford Bay waterfront development site. Have here on the overhead an aerial view of that property. Crawford Bay is the name of the site. I think it's been referred to as the Holiday Inn site going back for many years, but we've kind of rebranded that. So that's what we're going to be discussing this evening. The Economic Development Authority and the City Council have together commenced the process for preparing a solicitation for development interest in the Crawford Bay site. And it is, I think, understood that the development of the site will result in benefits to the community at large, primarily in the form of real estate tax revenue, as we're working to put that back on the tax rolls. But in addition to that, employment opportunity and housing stock as well. We are looking at a two-part process for soliciting development interest. That will be initially a request for qualifications that will be followed by a request for offers, which will ultimately result in the identification of a development partner. So just to do a little bit of a deeper dive in the Crawford Bay site, you'll see here on the aerial, it is the 6-acre property that includes the former Holiday Inn site, which is Area 1. It is also the existing Harbor Court parking garage, the former Visitor Center site, and Port Center, which was an events pavilion for many years. This is a fairly large site for the city of Portsmouth, 6 acres. We believe we can accommodate a significant amount of investment on the property. We do expect that it will be a mixed-use project that this property will be able to host. We're looking at over 300 multifamily units. We will be looking for a new hotel to add to the waterfront, which will provide some overflow capacity for the Portsmouth Renaissance Hotel. We would expect to obtain somewhere in the range of 150 plus rooms for a hotel. In addition to that, we're looking for commercial development, so we believe we can accommodate approximately 60,000 square feet of commercial space, which would include dining, retail, and potential for entertainment venues. In addition to that, we're also looking for public amenities. We realize this is the premier waterfront site in the city of Portsmouth. Really has some pretty spectacular views, so we're looking to ensure that the community will have access to that and incorporate it into the existing seawall. So we really have a blank canvas here, and I think that the possibilities are quite large, but in order to move forward, we need to take care of some things to build the foundation for what will be the solicitation process. I do want to make clear that the Civic Center site, to include City Hall, the former jail property, will be the subject of a second phase of development. So we've really kind of uncoupled the two. There are many things that will have to happen to allow for the Civic Center site to be marketed for development. So we're probably looking at a 3 to 5 year time period for phase 2 to be put out for solicitation. So our sole focus right now is Crawford Bay, and we are moving forward with that. In order to move forward, we do need to have a cooperation agreement, which will be between the city and our Economic Development Authority. And really that will work to stipulate and spell out some of the roles and responsibilities associated with the development process. And I'd like to go through what those key items will be as it relates to the terms and conditions of the cooperation agreement and the project. The first is a public interest finding, which I believe we have established. We have discussed the project now for quite some time. It's going to be moving forward now with actually implementing the vision that the city has for the waterfront. The cooperation agreement will look to reaffirm that commitment and finding of public interest, which is, again, that the development of the property by the private sector will result in increased real estate tax revenues, employment opportunity, increased housing stock as well. Secondly, the cooperation agreement will stipulate the conditions for conveyance of the property, and it authorizes the city manager to convey the property to the EDA to further the solicitation and development process, which will be done at a key point in time once we've identified a development partner. The third item is the establishment of an EDA and City Council, City Staff-led project committee. We've already achieved this. That was established in June of 2025, and it consists of Mayor Glover, Councilman Hugel, our EDA chairman and vice chairman, City Manager Carter, and Deputy City Attorney Miller, as well as economic development staff and other key city personnel. So we do have a project committee that has been overseeing some of the preliminary work, and will be working forward to make sure that the project is moving forward. As we work to do that, there will be a need for continued updates of the City Council and EDA, so the cooperation agreement stipulates that that will occur. So there is a need to provide frequent and routine updates by both bodies, and that is something that will be occurring, such as what we're doing today. The approval of a developer is also one of the stipulated terms of the agreement. And that will be a decision that will be made by both the Economic Development Authority and the City Council based upon the recommendation of the project team committee. There is a need for some discussion on funding of the solicitation, the value and selection, and the costs that will be incurred. What is being proposed is a 50% split on the expenses associated with the process, not to exceed $500,000. We have, I say we, the EDA has incurred considerable expenses to date. They have either expended or obligated $378,000 in expenses related to the project to date. So there is a request for a cost sharing of those expenses as the project moves forward. And then lastly, we do have a timeline which I'd like to just review with you very quickly. It identifies some of the progress that has occurred to date. Really kicked off this initiative and effort back in June of last year. We have done quite a bit of planning and preparatory work. We've held stakeholder engagement meetings. I believe each of you on the council has met with our consultant, AECOM, to provide input and feedback on the solicitation process. We've done the same with the Economic Development Authority and city staff as well, in addition to some key community stakeholders, including the Old Town Business Association, the Portsmouth Partnership, as well as regional partners such as Hampton Roads Transit. We are now in the process of working to do some public engagement. We will be holding two public meetings. One is scheduled for January 28th, and we have a second meeting scheduled for February 4th. So I want to make sure that the public has an opportunity to ask questions, become informed about the project, and provide feedback as well in the process. So we will be working to advertise those dates and venues here in the coming week, and hope to receive a high turnout. We are planning one of those workshops in the downtown area, so that will be on the 28th, followed by the meeting on the 4th, which will be held at Tidewater Community College. So hoping to capture a citywide audience. This is a citywide project. Our entire city has ownership of this, so we want to make sure that we're able to get it in front of the community at large. There are two items here related to the cooperation agreement. Obviously, this evening's briefing is one of those, but there is a need for your authorization of the city manager's execution of that agreement, which we have scheduled for your January 27th meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the cooperation agreement or the development process.
Councilman Hugo, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So I have three items. First, Mr. Donahue, go to slide 3, please. Yeah, that one. So we've talked about this before, but the little red dotted line doesn't include North Landing. So the water stage and the water and the south side of North Landing, seems to me that it would be appropriate to extend the red dotted line to include North Landing as part of this agreement and as part of the project. And we're at mile marker 0 on the intercoastal, and basically North Landing, with the exception of the ferry landing, is useless for boating. So seems like we ought to include that as part of this project. Now's the time to fix that problem. It seems to me we got a water stage that's never used and really wonderful waterfront property. So I guess I would propose to my colleagues that we do whatever we need to do to extend the dotted line across the north, and to encompass all of North Landing. Does So that's comment number one. Comment number two, parcel 2 is the Harbor Court parking garage. I know there's been discussion about providing alternate parking while the Harbor Court parking garage is out of action. Is the alternate parking going to be provided within the 4 parcels that are in the project? Or should we have a 5th parcel included in this agreement to make sure that we have set aside the property to provide for alternate parking while we're doing the project? Then my third comment has to do with budget. So I get the 50-50 cost share, and I wonder so the EDA is already incurring expense. It's not clear to me whether the city cost share is in this year's budget, next year's budget, or some of both. So do you know which, or is it some
I'll
of
take the
both?
budget question.
Thank you.
You want to do the first, you want to speak to the first 2, or I'll speak to the budget?
Absolutely, yes, sir, thank you. First, Councilman Hugel, to your comment about the waterfront at the North Landing and the ferry stop, that was a comment that was shared during the stakeholder engagement workshops. The image that is on the overhead is really the area of study that was looked at when we had the market analysis performed about a year ago. And that boundary is being proposed for modification. It's worth pointing out as well that the Harbor Tower apartment community is not a part of this solicitation process, but that was the area that was being studied. So we are looking at extending the boundary to incorporate the portion of the North Landing. We're also assessing any impacts that would be had to the HRT ferry stop, and are working with them closely on that. We don't expect that would be an issue for them, but we do understand there's an ability to better utilize that waterfront.
So does this agreement have to specify that is included, or we modify the agreement later when we decide that we're going to include it? How do we handle this agreement? Because right now the scope of the site description is, I think, what's on this slide.
My recommendation would be to amend the area that would be subject to transfer at a later date once we have a specific area identified, and I think that will be something that will be as part of the solicitation process, largely driven by the development community that responds and what their desire is for that waterfront property. It will be something that we will look to negotiate. But it is helpful to know that is available to incorporate into the development. Your second question about the parking, the Harbor Court garage is serving as parking for the Harbor Tower community. There is a parking agreement in place, a long-standing agreement that does require that 250 parking spaces be provided to Harbor Tower. We have worked with our city engineer to come up with a temporary parking plan to provide alternative parking during the development process, because that garage will need to come down.
It will.
And we have worked on a couple of options, but we do believe that utilizing parcels 1, 3, and 4, we can surface park just over 200 vehicles. So we will still have a kind of a delta there that we'll need to address, and we think we can find some additional alternative parking for the residents of Harbor Tower. Not all of those spaces are currently used, the 250, but we are committed to providing them.
And so when we get around to identifying that other piece of property, would that be part of this project and therefore part of this cooperation agreement?
I believe right now we're looking at existing parking facilities, so it would be most likely an arrangement between, I would suspect, the parking authority and Harbor Tower, which is what the current agreement that stands is.
Okay.
For the budget piece, there's no funding in this current budget for this. What we're looking at is incorporating our split into the 2027 budget. So that's why the EDA is fronting everything at this point, to the point where we actually have an allocation to this so that we can start participating. But there's nothing in this budget.
Okay, thanks.
Councilwoman Thomas, I think, had a question.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you for the update. Very excited. The stakeholder engagement meetings with EDA economic development were very helpful with our two consultants, and so happy to see this moving along. My first question, I'll go out of order, but since we're talking budget, so we're talking about the split of cost reimbursement, 50%. Is what I'm hearing, but there's significant costs that might occur later with the parking garage situation. That might be a significant investment. Is that still a 50% split, or will that be solely on the city? When we talked in the stakeholder engagement meetings, one of the questions I asked was regarding the parking garage and the promise of parking spaces to Harbor Tower and that commitment that we have to uphold and what that might cost. So is that all within that split? We're saying 50% split for the entirety of the project. Is that correct?
That's the way I view this. That's
Okay.
whatever the cost of the project is. Now, there are some, I think, specific things listed. I need to make sure of what that wording is.
All right, here. And letter B, is that what you're looking for? City reimbursement of EDA costs?
I think he's talking about the resolution.
Oh, okay.
If you're looking at that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cooperation agreement.
And
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at,
I
sorry.
rely on my
And I'm looking at the
counsel here,
cooperation agreement for.
But it does not, this says solicitation, evaluation, selection, and creation of the solicitation, marketing, issuance of the solicitation, and any costs related to the evaluation process.
So not project costs.
Okay.
Okay. So this is just splitting the solicitation costs, not splitting the project costs. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, yes, Mr. Shelley.
In the same agreement on section 6C, it says any commitment to funding costs or contribution post-selection of a developer shall be the subject of an amendment to this agreement or approval of a subsequent agreement by City Council and EDA in their sole discretion. So that particular part of it can be changed or dealt with differently as you move forward, because this agreement does not deal with that specifically.
Okay, so this is just for this agreement is just for the solicitation of the developer. Any future costs, once we get the developer, that will be a separate agreement where we have to determine cost sharing.
Yes,
Okay.
that'll be post-selection
Post-selection.
of the developer.
Okay.
Which would create another agreement that we have to
Okay.
work out.
Well, that answers my question that I was going to get to, which is about tax revenue sharing, which I understand now is down the road with
Yes.
another agreement. Okay.
This is all about,
The selection?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then my other question, Mr. Donahue, was a follow-up. You actually provided an update, but I just want to get a little bit more clarity so that we can share with the public. When we did that stakeholder engagement meeting, AECOM mentioned they were going to do community outreach starting in January. So I see our first meeting is January 28th, 2026. You mentioned it was going to be downtown. How are we targeting those community? How are we targeting? I understand we included ourselves, Old Town Business Association, and you mentioned some other partners that were part of stakeholder engagement meetings that happened in December. But how are we making sure that we really reach the full community so that we really get all input and are really good about reaching as many people as possible for this development?
Great question, Councilwoman. It's very important that this process is open to the city as a whole, and that we are able to provide information to all of our residents and all corners of the city. So we are working with AECom, which is our consultant, and the Charette Agency, which is a marketing communications firm, in addition to our own marketing communications department here, to make sure that we reach as large an audience as possible. So we are going to be launching a targeted media campaign, primarily through social media, to reach that audience. But we will be using all avenues that the city has to share information about the upcoming meetings. So we'll be working with Mr. Glagola and his team to make sure that we're getting out city email blasts, using city social media accounts, but also working through our economic development office as well to do that. We are also standing up a site dedicated to the project, so we'll have a web page for the project where residents and the development community can go to find information about the project, the status of the project, and provide information and feedback as well. So we'll also be including some online surveys that can be used to do that.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the outreach that that you're already planning. For that 28th meeting, the earlier the better, to really make sure that people can attend. Let me see, is that a weekend or weekday? What is that?
It's a weekday.
So that's going to be an evening meeting? Okay.
Will both be evening meetings.
Oh, so Wednesday, okay. So I also want to add that I think, of course, our civic leagues are great for engagement, and don't forget our faith-based community as well as our public schools, because families, they get a lot of information through the kids that attend schools here. So I don't want us to limit it to I would hope we don't just limit it to our city social media, but also engage all of our key stakeholders, our faith-based community, our civic leagues, our schools again. And then my last question, you said something that I wrote down. Let's see, answer that. You mentioned the project committee, and that, have you all already been meeting?
We have had an initial meeting
Okay.
of the project team. That will begin, that group will begin meeting more frequently now as the process is really launching and getting underway. So we had, in addition to that, some stakeholder engagement meetings. The individuals who are serving on the project team were part of that as well. But as the actual process now begins to ramp up, gain momentum, there will be a greater need for that group to convene. And we'll do that at key stages throughout the process as the solicitation actually gets underway with its issuance here.
Okay. And just to follow up on that project committee question for Mr. Carter.
Yes, ma'am.
I know I'm going to ask again about the MWBE process always being top of mind as we're going through the solicitation. Is our MWBE coordinator, I don't know if that's the right title, engaged in this project committee or in this process?
She's not on the project committee, but she will be engaged in the process.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation, Brian. Good timelines. I agree with Councilman Hugel on the North Harbor part, and I was pleased to hear you say that we're going to keep in mind public access. For a waterfront city, when you think about it, we don't have a lot of public access. And as we enter into this project, and I think the North Harbor area would be ideal for the public access part there as well. Has a history of that, as you know. The other thing, I think we need to really, when we're communicating, do special communication to our neighbors there, i.e. the Renaissance. I would hope we've already touch base with them, and obviously the marina, any of the adjacent businesses, the even the condo folks there. I'm sure they're going to have some concerns about the fate of the parking garage and parking. I hope we can take the lead on that and nip any consternation in the bud before the people start conjecturing what's going to happen up based on facts. So that's good. The other thing on the cost, the post cost, do we have any idea what not the dollar amount, but what those costs may include as far as tangible things? What are we talking there when we say post?
Is your question related to development-related expenses?
Yes.
Or the actual construction cost?
I'm looking at the slide where it says any commitment of funding post-selection shall be the subject of an amendment of the cooperation agreement or subsequent agreement of the City Council and EDA.
Yes. So what are those costs? I think is that the question?
Well, what items would make up that cost?
It's a bit of an unknown right now, right? So
Okay.
I think we're too early in the process to understand what those costs would be. I think we could probably assume with a good amount of certainty that the parking garage is going to be one of those, potentially where a development partner is looking potentially for some sort of city participation, because some of those are going to be spaces reserved for Harbor Tower community, which is what we're currently obligated to provide. But there are a lot of unknowns as it relates to infrastructure. That will be something that we will have to assess, and it's largely going to be dependent upon what the development project looks like in terms of its requirements. We know we've had some internal discussions about the existing infrastructure. We seem to believe that it has been upgraded over the years and can support a number of the uses that I discussed earlier in the presentation, just in terms of water, sewer capacity. But there are many unknowns that we just don't have information on yet. But that will continue to evolve throughout the process.
Yeah, and that could be a big cost, as you know. And could that and the issuance of the RFQ, could we entertain that as well? I would think somehow that could be part of the overall development, and I would hope that we would include some language in there that this parking garage could be part of even a mixed-use development, as we saw in Greenville. So just throwing that out there. And speaking of the issuance, is that going to be a nationwide issuance, or regional, or nationwide?
Nationwide. We are looking to attract as wide an audience as we can capture. It will be nationwide. Definitely looking to promote this as far as we can.
That's great.
Good. And when will that be ready? I think that would be good for us to see that, have a copy of it.
Yeah, so right now, excuse me, Mr. Carter?
No, I was just saying you had a timeline up before.
Yeah, so we're looking at an issuance of, kind of a target date of February. Is when we'd like to get that out on the street for advertisement, and then having a April timeframe for receipt of the initial proposals, which would be through an RFQ. So we're looking really to qualify the initial submission of developers. That will be followed by kind of a short listing of the proposals that we receive at the start, phase one of the plan, and then we'll have a second issuance, which will be a request for offers.
Who's actually structuring the issuance?
So the consultant that we have brought on board, AECom, is assisting city staff and the project committee with putting together the criteria of both the RFQ and the RFO, and that will be something that will be circulated and shared. But the project committee is really going to be working with the consultant to develop both of those documents, making sure that they incorporate all of the priorities that the City Council and Economic Development Authority have identified, as well as the engagements that we've had with stakeholders. So that will be something that incorporates all of those priorities that are discussed.
I would think that's pretty far along if we're talking about January, February.
Not as far as I'd like it to be, but it's going to be there in February, ready to go. So we're working on that now.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
The important thing is we have open communication with the public, and those meetings at the end of January and beginning of February will be the last opportunity to capture that input before we actually put pen to paper with the final solicitation that will go out for advertisement.
Okay, thanks.
Councilwoman Bryant, then Councilman Dodson.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Donahue. This is a wonderful way to start the new year by beginning with this project. I know there's a lot of excitement. Is it possible for us to announce the January meeting tomorrow at tomorrow's council meeting? Will it be finalized enough with location by then? That would be a good way to kind of make sure it's out there. But if you don't have a firm plan yet, then of course that.
We are close. If we are able to secure the venue in time, I will share that information so it can be shared publicly.
You can share it tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
We'll stand by.
Yes.
I predict that there will be a lot of discussion downtown about traffic and parking related to this, which is a very exciting project, but it's going to increase significantly the number of people in that pocket of the waterfront. So at what phase does a traffic study come into this, and what will be part of that study?
That would typically occur, like most development projects, during the site planning process, which is really driven by our planning and engineering departments and that review. So that will be done at that time, following the selection of a development partner. There may need to be a rezoning for the property to accommodate a development proposal. At that point in time, there would likely need to be some traffic studies performed as well.
What's the feeling at this early stage about traffic in that pocket related to having 300 new multifamily units and the hotel and the public space, office space? Is there a feeling that we can support that along Crawford Street, along Crawford Bay, through the neighborhood?
Yes.
Is there any preliminary traffic study that we need to do before an actual traffic study, like an in-house kind of understanding of that?
What I will tell you is that most developers will already have some idea of what they expect their traffic is, what their development, what kind of traffic their development is going to create.
Okay.
And that would be folded into what they propose to us. Now, we'll get that and we'll vet that and we'll, do our own engineering studies with that. But anybody that's going to do a development where you're creating that many new residents, they will already do their own traffic study and provide that to us as part of their presentation.
Okay. Related, the parking along the marina, there's kind of two sides to that parking, ones that face out to the water and ones that face into the, so where that red line is, Mr. Donahue, it goes like beyond the parking? Is that all marina parking, those 2 rows right there?
You're referring to the surface
Yeah.
parking that is on the northern
Right, next to the
boundaries of the
marina.
site?
Next to the marina.
The cars lined up right along that red dotted line, and then there's a second row, actually, there's a third row of cars there too. Is that all marina parking, or is that city?
It's not all marina parking. There's a fence line that runs the
Yeah.
perimeter of the marina's parking.
Okay,
They have 2 rows of parking.
okay.
The third row that I think you're speaking to is actually on the EDA site.
Okay, so that red line actually would tuck in
It's not accurate.
lower because
Yes.
the cars would be,
Yes.
okay. So that parking all stays the same, and that's private parking is what I'm getting at.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is parking that is under the ownership of Tidewater Yacht Marina.
Okay, and you said that the parking agreement that we currently have with the tower, that we have agreed to 250 spots, but it's possible they're not using all of that number of spots, but we're committed to continuing that offer. Is it worth going to them and saying, hey, guys, lately, how many are you using? And if it turns out to be 100, then that's significantly different than 250, just to have that information and,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
rather than saying, we need to absolutely have 250 spots during construction. I'm just wondering if it's within the realm of them being a little flexible during construction to make sure those people that live right there have access to parking. I love to hear that the plan is to have it within the developed area or the developing area. But it might be interesting to know.
We have engaged with Harbor Tower, their management. I believe the current count of spaces that are leased, because they do lease parking spaces in the deck from the parking authority, is approximately 232.
Most of those people aren't
You said maybe it was 100. I wish that it was, but it's closer to the 250.
And the rest of that garage is public parking,
The entire garage is public parking. We,
with the exception of those spots
With
that
the
are
exception of the
designated.
two
Okay,
reserved
reserved, yeah. Does it get used a whole lot?
Now, one of the things that I think through as we do this is that is a garage that the city owns at this point, and we're going to have to do something about the garage. But does that need to be the same thing that goes back there? Can the developer develop along with whatever the parking that they're going to need, some parking that accommodates this also?
Well, that
So
was
what
my
we-
thing, yeah.
What we have today don't have to be what it is in the future.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Councilman Dodson.
At the last meeting, we talked about the Harbor Tower integration with this. Has there been any new development, and what is leading to on that was Harbor Tower is not built to be a 100-year-old building. At some point, it's going to age out. And there needs to be some consideration for the reconstruction of that building and access to do that. Has there been any integration of that concept into it?
in our conversations with the representatives from the property, they have shared with us there have been improvements made to the property recently. I do believe they've got plans for additional improvements in the coming year. So that would...
Oh, no, more for the access for when it does age out. Will they have sufficient access to get in and out of that building to do major work? And you just need to make sure that's in the consideration for the road access.
Oh, most certainly they would have
Okay.
access to the property.
Right. Second question was tax incentives. What tax incentives are we normally giving for a project like this?
Well,
Is it a 1 year, 5 year?
we're not in a position to really discuss that at this time.
That's too early.
Yeah, that's very,
That'll be
very
something to
premature.
come. Yeah, that'll be part of the negotiation process with a potential developer.
At one point, I had asked for how old was the best use for this, and I was told that there was going to be a new best use plan come out. Was I wrong in my discussion on that, or is there And how old is the best use for this project?
Best use. We've had a market study performed. It's just over a year old. And that really looked at what the highest and best use for the property would be, as well as potentially, what would be supportable development, what's really feasible for the property, because it is a site of limited acreage, 6 acres. And you can see here on the first aerial there at the top, for a mixed-use project, which would include multifamily units, hotel, commercial retail, the parking structure that would be necessary to support the development, and perhaps some office space. It is a true mixed-use development. I think you could kind of compare that to maybe a town center type of.
Can I get a copy of that best use?
Yes, we can absolutely provide a copy of the market study.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Yes, sir.
And lastly, is there some, in that best use that you've got here, projected on your screen right here, is if a developer comes forward with some flexibility in some of those numbers, is that allowed in their proposal? Have we made it available, they could have some flexibility?
I would expect there to be a lot of flexibility in those numbers. It's really going to be a market-driven project. The numbers there that are on the screen are really what the market study and the analysis of what is occurring in Hampton Roads currently could support. I would expect that to change. Those numbers could increase. They could go down just based on economic factors and drivers in the marketplace.
Last thing I have is February 4th is also the night of our High Street charrette. There's a conflict that evening, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It is the Link charrette night.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why these meetings are helpful and productive. So we will look at the calendar. If there's a need to move that, then we have flexibility, I think, at this time to do that.
Good.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you all. And I just want to say before we close out on this presentation, this project has been one that we have dreamed about the last 30 years. And I would caution all of us, I know there's going to be a lot of questions. We all need to be as informed as we possibly can be as we go forward with what we're doing and the process. But most importantly, we all need to be on the same page when we are communicating with the community, the vision, what we intend to get with this. We need to come out of the gate, with positivity and project that we're working on this thing and it's ultimately going to have a positive impact on the city of Portsmouth, the quality of life, our tax revenue, and so forth. This is phenomenal, and all I can say is I can't wait to see us go through this process and get this thing underway. It will not only be transformational, but it will be here for the next 50 to 100 years, and that's impactful. So thank you guys. This will be a thoughtful process. Everyone has something to add. If you have a question, we haven't, as the two people that have been appointed to this body from council, we haven't fully engaged. We're going to start engaging, but understand this is not a secretive project. This is not a city project. This is not something we want to hide from folk project. This is a community-based project to improve our city to the degree that it's going to benefit everyone. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Dr. Russell, you're on deck. I have a couple of presentations from the planning department this evening. The first one is a comprehensive plan presentation. However, before we get for Councilman Dotson, we're cleaning that property up right now.
Oh, thank you.
So I forgot about it. I just want to make sure I mentioned that so that that's a box you can check off that that property is in the process of being cleaned up so that it looks better.
Public use.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Dr. Russell.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mouse or the keyboard.
Okay.
Well, while she's waiting Today's her birthday, too.
Happy birthday, Dr. Russell.
Almost made it all. Almost made it all.
Birthday to you.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Dr. Russell. Happy birthday to you. I know you weren't expecting that. Happy birthday.
Thank you. My mother is rolling.
Mr. Carter,
All right, so we want to share with you, Bill Lanfer and I, Principal Planner, the results of our comprehensive plan audit process. And so this presentation was made to the Planning Commission in October, and the Code of Virginia only requires that we present it to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission make a recommendation for amendment of the comprehensive plan. And the City Council's role is to consider and to adopt the plan. But it never hurts to be very transparent in the information that we share with all of our public elected and appointed bodies. So we had a threefold process in the review of our comprehensive plan, our 2018 comprehensive plan. It included initially a review of performance by all responsible city departments and public agencies regarding prescriptive items that each agency was tasked with in terms of plan implementation. That followed with the review, actually not followed, it was a parallel review of our capital improvement plan, our annual capital budgets, and those projects that aligned with implementation of the comprehensive plan. And then we completed that effort this spring and summer with, I would call, a community engagement piece where we invited ourselves to a number of community meetings, shared the plan recommendations and our performance with the same, and sought feedback from the community groups regarding our plan performance. And so some of the major policy initiatives that were advanced with the current comprehensive plan included our development of our downtown zoning designations, the completion of a Portsmouth poverty study, which is really important, and it seems to have, I guess, most recently risen to the surface as it informs our decisions about housing and what types of housing initiatives we should be pursuing, have guided development opportunities and where our focus needs to be, whether it be planning or economic development. And in our community, those opportunities have been entrepreneurial related in our maritime, marine, and shipbuilding activities. We have seen in this time frame major private investment to include Rivers Casino, renewable energy projects, and maritime and logistics investments. And our opportunities realized include expansion of our broadband initiatives and program. I was sitting in the back and I was listening to Councilwoman Thomas Corey, Mr. Donahue, about the public engagement initiatives around waterfront development. And I'm proud to say that that really is a cornerstone of what we do and how we do business in the city of Portsmouth. And that was realized with this era in terms of the 2018 comprehensive plan, and will continue to be so going forward. I asked Mr. Landfair, who served temporarily as our interim manager of comprehensive planning, to join me this evening in this presentation, and I'd like him to share with you the specific recommendations that came out of the audit. And I'm going to exchange seats with him right now while he shares that with you.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good day.
Depends on what time zone.
Good day. Good day. It's morning somewhere.
As Dr. Russell noted, the audit of the 2018 comprehensive plan included an interdepartmental review, a capital improvements review, and public engagement feedback. Public engagement involved the collection and review of input from community meetings, workshops, and neighborhood discussions. The photo you see here on the left was actually taken at one such meeting. Through a series of visioning exercises, staff was able to get a clearer sense of what the city is doing right and where we could do better. Crime, quality of our schools, and neighborhood appearance ranked at the top of citizen concerns. Recreational opportunities and libraries were often mentioned as city strengths. The second slide summarizes the feedback received from residents based on such familiar categories as public safety, recreation, and housing. And this was an opportunity for our staff to hear more about the citizen needs as it relates to their neighborhoods. And often these were expressed in familiar planning terms, such as neighborhood beautification. The next slide summarizes Portsmouth's capital investment over the evaluation period based on the vision themes of the comprehensive plan, with most of these investments falling under the resilient theme, focusing on transportation and infrastructure. They totaled about $125 million overall. Conclusion, the 2018 comprehensive plan outlined ambitious goals across 4 different vision themes, which have led to the successful completion of important initiatives. However, it's clear that implementation of strategic priorities has been mixed and is complicated by the fact that we don't have clear performance measures for tracking. If there is one key takeaway from this audit, it's that moving forward with the 2040 comprehensive plan, Portsmouth will need to improve implementation by developing clearer metrics, enhancing reporting of successes, increasing community engagement, and strengthening collaboration across all citywide departments. As we move forward, completion of this audit marks the beginning of the 2040 comprehensive plan process. Key milestones for this process will include this winter release of an RFP and consultant selection to support technical analysis, community engagement, and plan preparation. This spring and summer will see additional community engagement and data collection. This fall through the winter, we'll see drafting of the policy framework and additional stakeholder workshops. And late winter 2027, additional community engagement and draft refinement before hopefully coming back to you in the spring and summer of 2027 for final plan adoption. We'll now stand by for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Councilwoman, did you want the floor?
Oh, no.
Okay. Councilman Dodson.
Your conclusions are smack dab on the mark. We've got to have
I thought you raised your hand.
We've got to have dates and measurable objectives and get things accomplished. It's nice and refreshing to hear that philosophy from you guys. Thank you very much. You know, my hot button in all of this, though, is transportation. I do. And I've expressed it every time we've met. And that goes along with a theme that's very dominant in the council today, and that's a walkable city. To do that, we've got to integrate much more public transportation methodology into it. So as we go along, you'll still continue to hear from me about can we adapt to the future, because I'm not sure that automobile transportation is in our next generation's lives, or maybe a different form than what we have now. So I think we need to plan for adaptation to a different lifestyle than what we grew up in here. Thank you very much. Fantastic job.
Vice Mayor Moody.
Great presentation. On the public input part, how would you say, was it well-attended, and how diverse was it throughout the city?
So I like to describe public engagement in terms of touch points. And so we visited, we sent invitations to every one of our civic organizations and had about 60 touch points. Those are individual citizens that participated in the development process. And so I would say it's satisfactory, but the quality of the engagement for those that participated was really good, particularly because we, where's that photo? With the,
It's like 7. It's like 7.
so we designed a process, so this is like standard, we're talking to people and sharing information. That's a very small part of the public engagement activity, and then we broke them into small groups. Because the people tend to be more comfortable sharing information in smaller settings, and we ask them to dialogue with each other about specific questions relative to what they want to see in the communities where they live. Where do they want to work? Where do they want to live? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Where do they want to raise their children? And it becomes very intimate and very personal, and you get genuine feedback, and then we look for trends and commonalities in that feedback between the various meeting sessions, and that is what's reported out to you relative to the opportunities that our community members want to see in the 2040 plan.
Okay.
I'm excited to say that every time we did that, at the end, the participants were like, "Oh, that was really nice. It's hard, it's even for me, it's like hard to share like personally like that, but then when you do, it's like cathartic, and it's you get your experience is almost validated because someone next to you that lives in the same area you do felt the same way. So
it's interesting. Of course, it's no surprise that crime and quality schools are first on the list. I was a little surprised that the public identity and signage are mentioned there, because we've mentioned the need for signage, and our current signage is definitely aging quite rapidly, but
It's maturing.
Would you say along with me?
It's
I know, I'm just kidding. I like to kid our city manager. But I'm really pleased that the group picked up on that as well, because that is some areas that we need to address. But thank you, Dr. Russell, and happy birthday.
thank you again.
And my voice sounded better than all the mixologists here,
It did,
because I sing so well.
absolutely.
Okay.
Councilman Hugel, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Well done. I echoed Councilman Dodson's comment regarding the conclusion. I think the conclusions are spot on, and that leads to a question for the city manager. So we have strategic priorities as a conclusion. We have strategic pillars that we're in the commenting phase. So I appreciate an update on when you think the strategic pillars are going to be ready for us to go public.
I'm going to present them to you tomorrow. You
Okay.
tell me if they're ready to go.
Okay. And then this also, the conclusions reinforce the conversation we had during the last budget season around having a solid 5-year CIP. So are we tracking toward a solid 5-year CIP as part of this upcoming budget process?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Really good. Thank you.
That's just part of the work. That's not even something special. That's just part of the work.
It's part of the work that's been unfinished work, so looking forward to 5 years in our 5-year CIP.
Go. Not a problem.
And one of the things I'd like to say in summary is that, our planning department, our comprehensive plan, know some of my colleagues haven't been here as long. Of course, Councilman Vice Mayor Moody has seen many comprehensive plans in his time here, and I'm not saying that in a negative. The reality, I've seen a few, Bill. But in any event, you know, when I looked at the comprehensive plan, when I think about it, a couple of things that come to mind about the work we're doing. Our comprehensive plan, many of you may not know, have received national and state recognition. Y'all are aware of that, right? Okay. And so that seems to say a message to me that we are looking at things that we need to be looking at, and it's independent evaluators that tell us that. Most importantly, the work that you guys are doing is going to help us to move Portsmouth forward, and we're so grateful that you're doing the work. We got to continue to communicate, share with the community, go out in the street and let people know this work that we're doing, get on whatever social media we can get on, and start telling the story. This is a good story. There's a good story happening here. I'm hearing it in the community. I'm out here every day, y'all, and I'm listening to a lot of people. Believe it or not, I'm not doing a whole lot of talking. And I hear that people are liking the Portsmouth that they're seeing right now. I just met the reporter at Wavy, one of the newest, youngest reporters at Wavy. You may see her. She lives in Old Town. She stopped me and talked to me for an hour and a half. She came from St. Louis, Missouri. And she told me how beautiful that Portsmouth is and how much she's in love with this city and all of the wonderful attributes. And she wants to get more involved in the community. I sent her to Councilman Brian. Did she call you yet?
Yep.
You know who I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about. This is real stuff that's happening. We're not just talking about it, we're doing it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susie.
Okay. She's still the one that's presenting. This next presentation is really just information. We have a complex that is going to need to do something a little bit out of the ordinary to meet their goals. It requires a public hearing, which we will schedule next council meeting, pending how the conversation goes around this one. All right, but yeah, it's just really information so that when we actually start talking about it in public, you know what we're talking about, why we're talking about it, all the details of how it works. I'll let Dr. Russell introduce that and kind of walk you through the mechanics of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Okay. All right, good evening one more time. And so let me share with you, let me remind council members that this should look very familiar to you. You considered in March a request to provide a one-year extension for use permit 2222 for the proposed Ansel apartment development. And so this is a subsequent request to that use permit extension request. And the applicant is asking for your authorization, or asking that you authorize a public hearing as soon as possible to consider project-based vouchers to support the development. And so it is a proposed 39-unit multifamily development. They have secured approval from the City of Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority to lend project-based vouchers, a total of 9,
Right.
for this development, which would generate approximately $79,000 in additional operating revenue for the Ansel apartment development. I don't have much additional information other than that to share with you. I can answer specific questions about the project. I can share that the developer, who does have a representative present tonight, advises that while $79,000 does not seem like a significant amount of money, it will make a difference relative to the closing of their finance package with Virginia Housing and their operating income for the proposed development. Let me share with you, because you'll likely see advertisements for Ansel Apartments conditional use permit request that will be considered by our planning commission. How did that go back? by our Planning Commission at their February meeting. Your use permit extension request expires in July 26, and the standard for evaluation per the Portsmouth zoning ordinance is that a footing has to be completed and in place. So one of the buildings, one of the apartment building units would have to be under construction and the foundation in place. And, you know, seasoned developers know how much time that takes relative to the development review process. And at this point, at the beginning of January, it's not anticipated that they would meet that milestone by July 1. And so they're going back before the Planning Commission in February. We're anticipating that that would be before the City Council in March for a renewal of their use permit. So that extension request per the ordinance can only be granted one time. After that, an applicant has to go through the complete use permit review process. Nothing about the specific details of the project have changed. What is being proposed is that the conditions would include a second expiration date for the project. All right, with that, I'll pass
You didn't talk about this process that they're about to go through right now.
the project-based voucher.
Right.
Okay, so the project-based voucher request requires that the Portsmouth City Council adopt a resolution allowing the project-based vouchers from the City of Norfolk to be used in the City of Portsmouth. The Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority, as well as the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority, have approved the use of project-based vouchers in Portsmouth to support the project. I don't know how much more I need to share.
So Councilman Tillage had his hand up, and I bet I know what he's asking, but he needs to ask the question.
So the question I have is it's a twofold question. The first question is the public base vouchers. It makes mention in his letter here that Portsmouth
Project-based.
Yeah, project-based. Yes, excuse me. Portsmouth. The project-based vouchers that Portsmouth did not have the available vouchers at this time, so they sought from Norfolk.
Yes.
So my question with that would be: is Portsmouth just ran out of what they had, or do we not have any at all to support this?
Good question.
I don't know the answer to that. That's not one of the questions that was asked.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I saw the letter from Ms. Winston saying that they supported it, but I just want to know what that process looked like if they had ran out, or if they ran out, maybe we need to work with HUD to see if there's a way we can get increased vouchers. Second question would be, with these being Norfolk vouchers, these are Norfolk residents coming into Portsmouth, which would become Portsmouth residents, correct?
Our query with the applicant did not indicate that those would be solely reserved for Norfolk residents.
Right. It was my understanding that they were Norfolk-based, project-based vouchers, but they're used for Portsmouth residents.
Gotcha.
That was my understanding but that's not possible?
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't think that's it.
They're project-based vouchers from Norfolk
Okay.
that can be used by any qualifying
Correct.
prospective tenant.
Right, but when I asked the question, and maybe I misunderstood it, those people will be living in Portsmouth, though. Is that?
Oh, yes.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm sorry.
So we're getting new residents.
Right.
Nine, up to 9.
Up to
Because
9.
that was my question.
Right.
But a voucher can be used anywhere.
It can.
Yeah.
And, but
Yes.
I think this particular process,
Right.
Norfolk already have their list of people waiting for vouchers.
That's correct.
So
was my
that's who's going to
understanding. That's
get.
what I was saying.
Those 9.
Right.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Whatever their waiting list is.
Right.
That's right.
But the other units in the project the other units in the development will be affordable, available to anybody that applies to be able to continue to live.
Yes.
That's a good question.
Councilman Tillage, I will reach out to Ms. Winston for an answer to the first question that you asked.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Same question. Councilman Dodson.
I had spoken with the builder on this project before about the design. I think we're kind of locked into this design, but I wanted to use this as an example to say this is not what I call defensible housing.
Defensible?
Yeah, I'm going to define it for you. What it means is that the residents have control over their property, and from some of these units, they can't see their parking spots to know, is there something going on in the parking lot? Can they get their property? Can they protect their property? And I would hope that we would have that discussion with designers in the future to not design projects like this where the parking lot can't be seen, and their property, their ownership of their own property controlled in here. I don't know how we could do better on this project. I'm not saying do it differently. I'm just saying that as an example, I would hope that we would have that discussion in the future.
That'd be a big ask.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we accommodate,
Yeah.
because any development that way with designated parking, some units will have sight on that parking, some just won't.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how you accommodate what you're asking.
Not on this one, we can't.
I'm talking about period.
There are some other projects that I've seen come through that very much go along with that philosophy of at least attempting to, as many units as possible, go more towards that philosophy, especially in project areas.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, we can have a conversation. That's just not it's not a term I'm familiar with in this process. I'll say it that way. I may need to be smarter on it too.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Dr. Russell.
Is permission to include the resolution, approval of the resolution on an upcoming city council agenda.
I think that requires a public hearing also at the same time.
It would require a public hearing, right, Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, public hearings, yeah, I mean, normally through the approval process through planning and zoning does require a public hearing. Is that correct or not correct?
Yeah, I've been working with Mr. Miller, and I think that a public hearing is required.
Yes, that's, okay,
Good.
that's, okay. We're clear on the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, so that will be brought forth in the form of a public hearing, and the community will get a chance to hear and weigh in. Then we will have a decision to make.
Yes. That's it.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And happy birthday again, Dr. Russell. I want a piece of the birthday cake. You didn't bring the birthday cake with you.
Good afternoon, members of City Council.
Good afternoon, Madam
Yeah, I don't know
Clerk.
if I've seen her.
You have never seen me stand up here. This is like a once-a-year kind of thing. I am delighted to bring one of your initiatives to you, which is the consent agenda. City Council has been asking for this for a little while, and we heard it. And you were provided in advance a copy of your rules and procedures to review. I would like to bring your attention to page 5 of your rules and procedures, which primarily talks about the city manager's report. And what this entails, it's a couple of parts to this. You all have had an opportunity with a couple of your council meetings that had several items to be able to practice using the consent agenda, just so we could get a feel for how this would work for you. Basically what would happen, and what is proposed, which is a little bit different from what you do now. Currently, with the city manager's report, the public can speak on each and every item. Whether it's 2, whether it's 22, they can speak on each and every item. Council's request was for us to look at consent agenda. What does that mean? That would mean items would go under one item, cover all the items, and would require only one vote. Part of that process we also looked at is the ability for the public to speak. We also looked at, and I like to thank, is Jeff Miller in here? Thank you, Jeff Miller, for assisting in this process, because we did check with the other cities to see those that use consent agenda, what their process was. And it looks like with the majority of them, they have the public ability to speak on any of the items prior to getting into the consent agenda. So what would happen is when we get to city manager's report, we would hear anybody that wants to speak on consent agenda, not all the city manager items. So there's two parts to this.
Yes.
We would hear the speakers, but this is the caveat. Where they normally could speak on all the items, they would be able to speak one time for 5 minutes. If we have 20 items on the city manager's report, under consent agenda, they speak one time and cover all their items. The thing you have to remember is, and I'm sure you're aware, normally the items under the city manager's report are grant items. So that's money coming to the city, not too controversial, I'm happy to say. So those items will be primarily what will fall under consent agenda. There will be other items that, with review by the manager and our team, would determine whether they could be categorized as controversial. And if not, they will fall under consent agenda. Those items that, in looking and reviewing them, if we see that it's a possibility that we could have quite a few speakers, or even we think that council might have questions beyond just 1 or 2 questions, those items would not fall under consent agenda. So there's 2 parts, the non-controversial and the questionable. So we would hear at the beginning of consent agenda, we would hear whoever wants to speak on any of the consent agenda items. They would speak one time for 5 minutes. Following that, I would read all the items. It would require 1 motion, 1 vote to adopt consent agenda. The second part to that is those items not covered under consent agenda that are still a part of the city manager's report, the public can still speak on them individually. We're not taking that away.
And they would just be, excuse me, Madam Clerk, they would just still follow the same process.
Correct.
They would have to sign up in order to speak.
Yes, sir.
Those items.
Exactly. And for consent agenda, they would just sign up one time to speak on all the items if they wanted to. And then the other items that are not on consent agenda, they would have to sign up, as you said, individually, and they would get 5 minutes to speak just like they do now. So the only thing we're really changing is condensing into 1 vote those non-controversial items like grants, and the rest of the agenda would move as it normally would. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Okay. I didn't look at this side of it.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney.
I'm going to go with Councilman Tillage first, and then I saw these hands.
On the section 15, line line B, where it makes mention about the city clerk shall read the titles of all ordinances and resolutions. What we have now, that's not considered to be a title. That's like a whole description.
Well,
so can we create shorter titles? That's not a title.
Well, the only problem with doing that is because we're not dealing with them individually. There's not discussion on them individually. We need to make sure we put enough information out there for the public to know what you're considering. So that sometimes require a little bit more explanation. Even though it's a grant, it still requires us to say where the grant's coming from, how much, where it's going, what it's going to be used for, and that kind of thing.
So that being on paper isn't just enough information?
No, because not everyone gets that piece of paper. Not everyone gets to see the backup information that gives a full description of the item. So in putting together your agenda, we try to keep it concise, but we try to provide the public enough information that they know what you're voting on.
Yeah, and I appreciate the transparency part. But there's a way that we can be just a little more crafty with our words.
Of course, Jeff could.
Just to make it a little bit more condensed while still being as transparent as possible.
Yes, sir, we will look at that.
Councilwoman Thomas, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for putting the thought and time and effort into making our city council meetings effective, but also keeping the transparency for the public. And I just want to shout out, kudos to you for letter C here. That was one of my concerns about us moving towards this, but I like that we can at any time request for an item to be removed from consent agenda item without the vote of the entire council. So thank you for putting that clarity in there.
Yes, ma'am. And that works the same for the public. If it requires some additional information, if a public person comes and say, you know, I need more feedback from council, council can say, okay, we're going to take this off consent agenda and move it down with the other items.
Yes.
So, yes.
Thank you for that.
I do want to bring to council's attention, though, item D, where it, consent agenda,
Short discussion.
if we're going to give you short descriptions, we need short discussions.
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, primarily going to consist of grant items and those non-controversial items, but I encourage you, if you have some additional questions on those items prior to the meeting, to please touch base with the manager so those questions can be answered, so it's not delaying the process of consent agenda, because otherwise we're right back where we are.
And remember, the council meeting is the business meeting.
Correct.
So when you come in there, we should be about the business. Discussion is fine, but we don't need to take it from inception to end. That's too much. So you got to be clear and concise. I know sometimes you guys look at me like, well, you cut me off or whatever. I'm not intending to cut you off. I'm thinking about being clear and concise on what we're doing, because at the end of the day, our citizens have an expectation, and this is our business meeting. We have time during all those other discussions, work sessions during the week, to get it right before we come to the business meeting.
And I do encourage council to please read through your rules and procedures very carefully. There are a couple of bits and pieces throughout this revised where it's a little bit of housekeeping done, but it was nothing major at all. I mean, really nothing major at all. But if there's something else that needs to be addressed, we are looking to have you all adopt the revised rules and procedures at your next meeting, not tomorrow, but your next meeting. So you have some time to review it. And if you will let either me or Jeff Miller know any revisions that you may have that we can bring to the other council members' attention, that would be greatly appreciated before the night of.
And I just want to say this so that my colleagues say that, I'm not, picking on anyone. This is not a council rule. In the business meeting, because it's a business meeting, I would ask that our male council members wear a tie, please.
I don't think that's written in here anywhere.
I said it's not in the council rules. I'm just asking. That's all. I'm just making a request. There was nothing that was ordered. I just asked. That's all. In the business meeting.
I have this rash.
Oh my God.
The council business meeting. It's just a thought.
Maybe we get a no
Medical exemption.
shit
Oh my God.
from your doctor. A no tie shit from your doctor.
I just want to put that out there. Moving right along.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mayor, that concludes everything we have for this evening.
Okay, sir.
Look at that.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. And I hope I'm not overstepping any bounds here, but, Mr. Carter's wife, Maria, lost her mother. So we certainly want to uphold him and his family with our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you.
And let her know that we're thinking about her and that we're here for her, okay?
Absolutely will. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that.
And with that, I think we have a need to go into closed session. So if All minds are clear. Vice Moody, would you please read the closed session motion?
Vice Moody.
Who's that? Who's Vice Moody?
Vice Moody,
Vice Moody.
Vice Mayor Moody.
Sounds silly.
Vice Mayor Moody.
I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A7 for the purpose of consultation with legal counsel pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, specifically regarding the city of Portsmouth versus Swenson Restaurant Group and all. Portsmouth Circuit Court Case Number CL 25001-599-00, and Mrs. Schwitz versus City of Portsmouth Workers' Compensation Commission Jurisdiction Claim Numbers Virginia 000019036647 and Virginia 020000040432.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Hugel?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Tillett?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Aye.
Thank you.
We're now in closed session. We'll take a quick break.
We don't want a Groundhog Day here. I hereby move that each council member certify that, to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters that were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
Motion and second. Madam Clerk, would you please call?
Yes, sir. Ms. Bryant? Yes. Dr. Dodson? Yes. Mr. Hugel?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Tillett? Mayor Glover?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Y'all have a good night.
Council members, if you all